The ultimate babysitter, Netflix.
Yes.
All right, well, I guess we'll go ahead and jump into it. If Connie is able to jump on, then that will be all the better. Rebecca, do you want to take it
Call the
away?
meeting to order.
You need a gavel.
I know, I need something. So calling the meeting to order. Dun, dun, dun. Do I have to do anything special other than sing the theme song?
Besides singing the theme song solo, no, we'll just note for the record that it's 9:05 a.m.
Perfect. Do we have public comment?
There's no one from the public joining, so we're good.
Taylor's intern can be the public comment. Are we ready to move on to review and adoption of last week before, whenever the last meeting was?
We are ready for that.
So I looked over everything, your minutes from the last meeting. I thought they were fine. So if we want to move to, what do we, adopt them? Is that what it is?
Can I actually add something? I believe Julie also is interested in design.
Okay.
And I don't think that was included in the minutes. Julie had expressed some interest in being on the design committee.
Okay, let's see here. I'm making a note.
But that's all.
And what's his name's Mellow, you did good.
Okay, so yeah, so Rebecca, what we're looking for is a motion to approve the minutes as written with the addition of Julie as a member of the design committee.
Copy that. A motion to.
Can I ask a quick question? No questions. So I was just wondering, I missed the last meeting, but I remember Julie saying something about some committees that people were interested in, and I completely missed all of that. Can anybody catch me up to speed really quick?
Should I do that? I'll do that.
Yeah, I don't know them by heart.
How about Trent Jr.?
So these, I hear a little doggy. Is there any possibility someone could mute the doggy in the background?
Maybe.
Okay, maybe, all right, so the Main Street model of economic development is, it has 4 different components, and those are promotions, design, economic vitality, and organization. And we talked last meeting about kind of what those mean, and we're going to get into that again a little bit this meeting. So if you want to try and glean what you can this meeting, and then let me know which of those committees you'd be interested in, then that'd probably be a good way to go.
Perfect. Thank you.
Yeah. Yeah, so the motion, again, what we're looking for is approve the minutes as written with the addition of Julie Cooper as a leader in the design committee or participant.
Yeah, motion to approve.
Yeah, so someone can just say, I so move.
I so move to adopt that.
And then someone would second the motion.
Second it.
We're gonna get through it.
Gary Trent Jr.
So yeah, so then Rebecca, you would just say, okay, we have a motion and a second, and then ask for a vote.
We have a motion. We have a second. Let's vote.
Yeah, so then those in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Yeah. Okay, I will make that change and get those posted.
So then moving on to housekeeping, which is you have news on the grant application.
Yeah, we talked briefly about an application by Heritage Investments, also known as Heath Stallcup, for those of you who are longtime locals and might recognize the name. He submitted an application to take down the building next to True Value and Paul Strobel's insurance office and to rebuild a mixed-use building with commercial facing Main Street and an upper story that would have apartments and then 2 apartments in the rear. So a total of 6 apartments and about 2,000 square feet-ish of commercial space. Last meeting, we asked for your input, which I did share with the Urban Renewal Agency. The input was, hey, it would be nice to see below market rents in order to foster new business. And it would be nice to potentially see that 2,000 square foot space divided so that it might be a better match for the Estacada market. And so where they landed on that was to go ahead and award the grant with conditions that haven't been met yet. Dividing the space is desirable, it seems like, to all parties, and highly likely to happen, but it's not a condition of the grant. So it's more of a suggestion, but the suggestion was well received, and it seems highly likely that that's what will happen.
Cool.
As far as the rents go, that was a tricky one because part of the main reason, the reason they're asking for a grant is because the income that the property generates is already sort of insufficient in terms of what makes a decent investment. Not even like an amazing investment, just like an acceptable one. So the rents that I would need to pull up the pro forma to take a look at it, but the rents that he's proposing, I would say, are directly in line with rents elsewhere in downtown Estacada, which run a bit of a range, but on average, I would say it's probably about 80 cents per square foot. Some places go higher than that, some places go lower than that. It just kind of depends on the condition of the property and how long someone's been in the space and how they've negotiated with the landlord. So there's a range, but nonetheless, I feel like the rents will be very competitive. They talked about the residential rents as well, and Heath was able to kind of share his philosophy as an investor and property manager. And the agency was pretty receptive. What he shared is that he owns other income properties, and as a strategy, he always prices his spaces and residences below market by an increment or 2. And he says the reason for that is because he feels like it fosters a better relationship between the owner and the tenant. And it also is a good retention strategy. You know, if you're charging market or above market, but you're turning over the space or the residence every 6 months because someone can't afford it or because they're, unhappy, that's not really a good outcome. So he says that he keeps his rents purposely below market in order to be competitive and to foster a good relationship with his tenants. And so we expect that will be the case here as well. So again, there are conditions that haven't been met yet, but it looks like as long as everything proceeds as he's proposed it, that grant award would be made. Yeah. And then as an aside, it happens to turn out that someone else is interested in buying and taking down the Procop building and reconstructing there a mixed use space, commercial, residential, but those, we don't know at all what that could be. We've just had a very preliminary inquiry. I have no idea what the odds of that actually going through are, but just stay tuned for that possibility.
Exciting.
Isn't there also a new purchase downtown, Matt? I had customers in over the weekend that just purchased a building downtown, and they were super excited about it. And I'm just not clear which one it is.
I believe the one you're thinking of is
Old flower shop.
yes, thank you. Yeah, I was going to say Barbara's Flowers, but then it was Blush and Roses, and Yeah, so that's the spot. Capital Sportswear, Sarah Lakes building, or formerly Sarah Lakes building. So they're deciding what they want to do with the space, but it's escaping me. They do have a pretty concrete plan. Taylor, do you know, you may have been over there?
Yeah, Jimmy and Hannah are the owners, or James. And they are planning on opening a photo studio with
Oh,
some
yeah.
sort of retail aspect. They're not quite sure yet, but they've completely gutted the building. Long term, they want to put some apartments up top. That's something that they're tossing around, but as of the right now, they just want to do a photo studio and retail aspect of some sort.
Thank you for the reminder. Yeah, it's been a little bit of a blur.
And I just want to say they seem awesome and they seem really excited about Estacada. So
Yeah.
young family, just super cool.
Yeah, thank you for that. I had a brief phone call with them and I got the same energy, the same vibe. So glad we're on the same page.
They're awesome. They really are. And they're
Nice
really
stuff
excited
happening.
about fixing up the downtown area.
Cool. I can't think of any other updates as far as housekeeping items go. I guess just generally speaking, scheduling wise, we'll get back into this before we adjourn, but because our schedules got a little wonky, I'd like to get back on our normal schedule. So I think we'll try and keep this meeting brief and then shoot again to meet on our normal third Thursday. Just because I don't want to get into a situation where we're constantly scheduling ad hoc meetings. It's just a mess.
Yeah.
So that's it for housekeeping.
Okay, that brings us down to work session and discussion. So the training and the committee plans.
Yes. So thank you. So we will aim to have committees meet before our April meeting. It would be awesome if they could meet before the meeting, which will fall on the 18th, but it just doesn't seem realistic that that's going to happen. It could, but it seems somewhat unlikely. So I'm going to share my screen. How's that?
Nice.
Okay. This was in some of the materials I emailed, so if you need to go back and reference it, please do. There's obviously like dense bullet points here, and so I'm not gonna like make you suffer through reading through each of those, but this is a pretty good document that goes over how the committees should work, what their purpose is, what are the things that they ought to be discussing, and then more specifically, talks a little bit about work plans, and that's what I hope the committees will get into fairly quickly. Of course, it's not fortunate in any way that we're in a pandemic, but this does buy us some time to kind of get settled and established and get these committees functioning before we really need to like get to work, as it were. So I'll just touch on a few things here. Let's see here. The role of the committee to develop and implement projects and activities based on the vision for downtown and board goals and objectives. Committees are the way organizations, and then it goes through here. So rather than this board being a completely working board, this board will be more of an advisory board, I guess, and then the committees themselves are the ones who are doing the work, or at least developing projects and executing them. So you all are kind of setting the tone, the vision, the agenda, and then the individual committees are taking that vision and agenda and implementing it at the committee level. So again, promotion, design, economic vitality, possibly organization. So the chairperson technically has responsibilities. Try not to be overwhelmed by that. So Rebecca is the chair, but of the committees, there's a chair and they keep those meetings running. and delegate, you know, and make sure that there's something productive happening. That's really the main responsibility. It's easy, and I've seen examples of committees meeting, and it's just meetings where there's like some discussion and then you adjourn. But really, there should be more decision-making and execution happening in those meetings rather than just discussion. You know, this is calling for members of the committee to be contributing 3 to 5 hours per month. I feel like that's a soft number. You know, for the promotions committee, if there's a big event coming up, it might exceed that. But I think for the most part, most of the committees are not going to require that much time outside of the committee itself. That's one of the nice things about having a full-time staff person. If this were a 100% volunteer-based organization, then probably 3 to 5 hours is pretty realistic. But the nice thing is that at the board level and at the committee level, decisions can be made and delegated to staff. So, yeah, try not to feel like, oh man, what did I sign up for here in terms of time commitments. That said, when Nancy was running the Main Street program, she had volunteers. I'll name Connie, for example, Courtney, who's joined the meeting, who have put in and enjoyed putting in a lot of time and a lot of energy. And so that's totally welcome. So I guess you can be as active and contribute as much of your time and energy as what sort of suits you. So a little bit of flexibility there. So as I just mentioned, staff is doing most of the work outside the meeting. So I'll just underscore that again. They're not, so far I've been talking a lot in these meetings, and hopefully as time goes on, that will incrementally decrease to the point to where I become not completely a spectator, but I am more the person who's just in the meeting, observing and taking things that are delegated to me that you all decide. It will take us a while to get to that point, but that's sort of the desired outcome at both the board level as well as the committee level. So I'm kind of the gopher and you all are the decision makers and the bosses. Yeah. Absenteeism, don't need to get into that. Let's see here. So I did want to spend a little bit of time talking about the committees themselves. So this will be a good refresher for most of you, and Taylor, this will hopefully bring you up to speed a little bit. I'm just going to go ahead and read this. The design committee's purpose is to create an attractive, coordinated, and quality image of the district by capitalizing on its unique assets, and its responsibilities do not lie solely with the improvement of traditional commercial buildings. The design committee, ironically, has been primarily involved in the past with the improvement of traditional commercial buildings. So that's okay. It's just that it's not supposed to be the only thing that that committee does. So there's nothing wrong with them doing that. It's just we need to think a little bit more broadly. It should be involved in all aspects of design that have an impact on the overall image of the district, including analyzing parking, logo, coordinating window displays, or I've seen in other communities, the design committee during different times of the year will coordinate with business owners to do like themed displays or like have a contest of some sort where maybe they're doing like, you know, scarecrows or something like that that are decorated and voted on, or just decorated and enjoyed. But those are the kind of things that we're talking about. Acting as a design resource for property owners. If the local Main Street program is planning to develop a local low interest loan pool or other financial incentives, which we mainly do through urban renewal rather than through Main Street, that would be something that the design committee could look at. So as we recruit folks to participate on the design committee, there are a few that have participated in the past and I think will continue. Bruce, who has attended one of our meetings in the past, would be an example. But these are the type of folks that usually are suggested to participate on the design committee, but it can be anyone who's just interested in this. It doesn't have to be someone who has these particular qualifications. But yeah, maybe getting someone from the gallery would be a good idea. I know, Courtney, is that your cousin, Liz? Is she your cousin?
She's my cousin's wife.
Cousin's wife. Okay, got it. She's been helpful with graphic design and things like that, and print collateral. So anyway, you know, these are the type of creatives that can be helpful to have on your design committee. I'm not going to go through this, but it gets into a little bit more specificity there. Economic vitality works to develop a market strategy for the district that will result in an improved retail mix. We may get into this at the board level, but we may reserve it for the Economic Vitality Committee. We're going to watch a little video clip here before we adjourn today by a guy named Roger Brooks. And I may have mentioned him in the past. He's kind of like borderline overly enthusiastic, nauseating, but he's got a lot of really good wisdom to impart and really great ideas. And he is really big on, to the extent possible, trying to curate your business mix to the greatest, you know, sometimes you can't do that. You just, people move into the business district and that's just the way it is. But where there are vacancies, where there are opportunities, where there is transition, he's really a strong believer in trying to curate your business mix according to the goals of the business district and sort of the image and the personality that you want the downtown to have. What are your assets, and build on those. So, okay, yeah, a stronger tax base, increased investor confidence, a strong, stable role for the direct district is a major component of the district's economic health. So here you see examples of members there. It would be great to get someone from the chamber on that committee. I think that shouldn't be an issue. Brent Dodrell would probably be willing to participate, or potentially Christina, their director. But again, doesn't need to be people with these job titles, but those are just examples of folks that might be a good fit or have interest in that area. So here they're calling the organization committee the outreach committee. We've sort of tentatively agreed that we won't have that be a formal committee, but rather we'll try and handle outbound communications and things of that nature at the board level. But the description here is recruiting and developing new leadership, staying in close touch with supporters and partners, meeting needs of supporters, involving and mobilizing a large number of volunteers. So yeah, you can just think of these people as like the diplomats, the ambassadors of Main Street, who are sort of cheerleading and trying to build partnerships and coalitions that can help promote common interests and goals. The school district has been a good partner in the past, and I think that's a good partnership to continue. Chamber of Commerce, obviously, as well. Both banks have been supportive in different ways, either through in-kind contributions or monetary. Sometimes fundraising happens through the outreach committee as well. So again, we haven't organized this committee formally. I guess we haven't organized any of them formally, but these are the type of things that that committee can focus on. And it looks like this document is stale because it's missing has a nomination committee, but that's way outdated. Design, economic vitality. Oh, promotions. Where's promotions? Oh, at the top. Did we already talk about that? Anyway, I think promotions is probably the most readily understood. In Estacada, as I've mentioned, it's historically been the party planning committee. If you want to think about it in those terms, the event coordinators and executors. But again, I think as I've mentioned in a previous meeting, I think it would be great to have promotions also start thinking about a marketing strategy of some sort. And that for places like the Chamber of Commerce, they're mainly focused on promoting their individual members. And of course, that's citywide. The distinction here is that this would be an attempt to market the district as a whole. So yeah, rather than individual businesses, we're talking about marketing the district as a whole, building a brand and an image for the entire district. Yeah, we've had the library participate there, and that's been nice. Most of you are business owners, so it's good to have your participation, but there are certainly other business owners that we can welcome to the table. And glad that a few of you have marketing expertise, so that will come in handy. This document again was already emailed to you. If you don't have it readily available today, that's okay, but try and locate it before you meet as a committee. And I will be a part of organizing that as well. But I just wanted to review that today and hopefully give you a better idea of sort of what these committees are charged with and what their areas of responsibility are. And then look at the work plans. So I just want to go over that template. Let's see here. Yeah, so here we are, work plan templates. Let me dig that out. I thought I had it pulled up, but I may have accidentally closed it. Let's see here. Any questions so far? I apologize if I'm boring you to tears.
I have a question, but I think it can wait towards the end. I wanted to go back to the what the conditions are for the grant award.
Okay.
But we can do that at the end.
Okay. Let's see here.
I guess I have a question too, is when do we sort of nominate who the chairs are for each committee?
You'd probably do that in the committee meeting itself. So it's not impossible that someone who's not on this board could be a chair of the committee. So you could still have a chair of a committee that's not a board member. And in fact, that has been the case in the past. So
so looking at the names that we've kind of assigned to each committee, there's not very many people for each committee. Like, when do we decide who else is on those committees?
Well, so I'll probably meet with just the one or two of you who have expressed interest in that committee. And we'll call on people who have been participants in the past, but then also maybe sit and brainstorm a bit, either specific people by name or just the types of people. And then we can sort of go forth from there to try and rally those folks to come join.
Excuse me, would this be a good time for Taylor and Tanley to sort of chime in about which committees they're leaning towards or interested in?
Yeah, thank you. I think so. I mean, if they have, certainly if they want to, yeah, or if you'd rather wait, that's okay too. But Tanley and Taylor, any interest in those committees that we spun through there?
Yeah, I have an interest for sure in the Gosh, I can't think of what the name. Can you tell me the name of them again?
Promotions, design, economic vitality.
The economic vitality one is interesting to me, mostly.
Okay, so noted. Tanley, how about you?
You know, initially I was like, ooh, design sounds fun, but then, and very interesting. But as I'm looking at like kind of the folks that generally would be in that, I'm like, well, maybe I'd find myself better suited or more helpful in a different, on a different committee. Lola, no. So I'm not 100% sure at this point. Yeah, I guess I don't really have my heart settled on any one particular committee.
Well,
Tanley, I don't
for all of them.
necessarily think that you should let the types of people who are on a piece of paper stop you from wanting to be in a group. Just because it says it wants, like merchants associations or a local art association doesn't necessarily mean that you wouldn't fit wonderfully in that group.
That's the one that kind of attracted my attention initially. So I guess that's, I guess, the answer.
I'd like to make a pitch for that too, Tanley. I was thinking that you'd be great for design because one of the aspects of that committee, from my understanding, is like spaces, like public spaces and gathering spaces for the community. And I think, you obviously have your heart in accessing the river. And I think there is a project down the road, right, of more access to the river in downtown.
Yeah.
And so I just thought that would be such a good fit
Okay.
for you.
Well, I appreciate that. And I guess that helps me a lot, kind of go, okay, well, that connection, I don't, it just was like, I don't want to like put myself in a situation where someone better suited or whatever. But myself and my husband actually both have a lot of vested interest in design and the way that we connect downtown to one of downtown's largest assets, which is the waterfront, and the river itself. So yeah, very good.
Okay, also noted. Connie.
There we go. Okay, I would like to be on promotions since I've been on that probably since the very beginning. So would that work?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, thank you.
We're counting on you.
Okay, thank you.
Hey, and by the way, I didn't mean to snub you the other day in City Hall. I was just coming in a flurry, and anyway, I was, as I reflected on it, I thought, I don't know if I acknowledged Connie's hello.
I don't take that stuff personally, Matt. So, and I apologize for being late. I was going by the 9:30 on the agenda.
I apologize, man. One of these days I'm gonna get this right. My fault.
Starting at 9:30, so that's okay. I'm here for the important stuff like number 6.
Okay. Courtney, are you wanting to continue with promotions too, or any other interests?
Yes, now that I've officially heard that Connie still will be.
Okay. And Courtney, I can't remember which meetings you've been able to make and not, but have you had an opportunity to kind of introduce yourself here, or I don't remember?
It's been a few meetings ago that I was able to make it. It seems like the ones that I have logged on are the ones that end up like getting canceled last minute or something. And then when the meetings really happen, I haven't been able to get on. My name is Courtney. I'm a lifelong Estacada resident. I love our town, and I'm also a local realtor.
Thanks.
And I have my nose in all sorts of stuff around here.
And she's been a big help in making Uncorked and other events happen. So
thank you, sir.
Okay, I'm gonna try and jump back over to that spreadsheet. Okay. So the work plans, so the way ideally this works is that the committee develops a work plan, and then we bring that back to the board to review and sort of approve. so that the committees spend their time doing things that are in line with the board's vision. On the meeting on the 18th, I'd like to try and maybe pin down in somewhat concrete terms kind of what that agenda and vision looks like, because that will inform the conversations that take place in the subsequent committee meetings. So we haven't quite gotten to that point, but I still feel like we are, because we're all sufficiently new, we've spent time, and it's okay, it's what we need to do, on just kind of training and talking about what the Main Street model is and how this all works. So once we have a firmer grasp on that, and hopefully we're starting to get there now, then we can really pin down kind of what our vision and goals are. So stay tuned for that next meeting. But this is an example of what a work plan can look like. Excuse me. It doesn't have to have every little detail here, but I think these are good examples of the things that need to be identified in order to have things happen and not just be talked about. So what is it that's going to be worked on? What are the actions that need to be taken? I'm not really necessarily sure the difference between action and details, but who's going to lead the way? Who are the key partners? Is there money required? And the budget piece here is a little bit important and timely because the city's budget is under development right now. And so if we're going to, the DEC does potentially have money we can ask for, but we got to ask for it. Otherwise, we don't get it. So the sooner we can identify the projects that we want to do and the money that may be required, the better. Typically, the city budget is considered and adopted by the council in May, potentially into June, depending on how long discussions go, but it becomes effective July 1st.
And just, I had a question about the makeup of the DEC. Are we officially a 501c3? And I'm asking that because if we were to go sort of solicit donations from other businesses, whether it's a printer or whatever the heck, that it makes it a little more, palatable for them. They can write it.
So we are not a 501c3. The predecessor of the DEC was a 501c3, but now that we're a commission of the city, we're not.
Okay.
But there's a bit of an asterisk next to that. Technically, the 501c3, the Estacada Development Association, still exists, but it hasn't been maintained, and so like Connie has been great in helping to get us caught back up with like the IRS, for example, and the Oregon Secretary of State. We've had delinquent filings because no one's been doing anything with that organization. So it technically still exists on paper. The thought was to keep it around in case this format of having the downtown group be a commission of the city for whatever reason didn't work out. But it seems like it is working out fairly well. And so that entity probably just needs to be dissolved. I hear what you're saying about people feel better about donating to a official nonprofit organization.
It's just so that they have the ability to write it off on their taxes as a charitable donation. So in-kind donations and things like that. I mean, that's how we, with our nonprofit up here, are solely surviving as in-kind donation, because everyone's happy to do it because they can write it off on their taxes.
Yeah.
So that's all.
I'm not sure the exact provision in the tax code, but donating to a municipality is also tax deductible. So it might be good for one of our committees to develop like a little flyer about how that works, and just provide, the chapter and verse that can assure people that when they do donate, it is also tax deductible.
I'll figure out what that is.
Okay.
I might have somewhere, because we had a little code one year for the large donors or whatever to Uncorked and stuff. We had like we provided them not really a receipt, but just a thank you, and it had the numbers that they would need for their taxes. I'll try to find that.
Yeah, Yeah, we can pull that out. Our city recorder, Sadie, will have that information,
Oh, yeah,
whatever
yeah.
someone would need in order to document who they donated to. Yeah. These are good questions. Okay, so these are the basics. And so each committee would kind of work through these and talk about what are some realistic projects that can be worked on through the year. And I think, as we've talked about in the past, probably quality trumps quantity. So, let's try and look at, 1 or 2 projects that could make a difference and be visible and that we could point to as an accomplishment at the end of the year, rather than spreading ourselves so thin and not getting anything completely done. I think that ought to be the goal. So once the committees bring these back and the board adopts it, and we'd have sort of a board level and organization level work plan as well. It's a little bit overkill. I'm not sure we're going to go there, but it's something to shoot for. I think if we have the committee work plans in place and this board has reviewed it and approved it and the work is getting done, we're on solid ground there, and frankly ahead of most Main Street organizations throughout the state. So any questions about that piece? So again, next, okay, Kim, yeah.
Sorry, really quick. Do you plan on sending us the Excel version of this file, or is the PDF version, are we able to open that in Excel?
No, that one's probably just a flattened document, so I can send you the Excel for sure.
And do you have older samples of worksheets that have been created in the past that you could share with the committees?
Probably. And I also can probably ask the state director. Her name's Sherry Stewart. I can ask her if she has some great examples of work plans from other communities and share those out.
Okay. Yeah, I think that would be helpful.
Okay. Yeah, each of the committees have kind of an example, so that might help at least get it started.
Yeah, and I should say those are good examples, and thanks for providing those.
Okay. But yeah, that's a good request. And I bet Sherry has some that she can share with me. The other thing that is helpful about being part of the statewide network is that if Sherry doesn't have anything in her file folder, she can blast out the listserv and say, hey, do you guys have work plans that you're proud of? And then people can put them out there and then I can grab them. So one of the advantages of being like an official Main Street organization. Okay.
I think Connie had a question.
Oh, sorry.
No, I was just going to say Nancy Hoffman and I had worked on promotion ones in the past, and I can see what we have as far as they go. But
Okay.
getting from the state would be good too.
And Connie, that was the one I was thinking of, because I'm fairly certain that the promotions committee is the only one that's ever actually got a work plan in place in the past. So I bet I can find it in Nancy's old files.
I'll dig for myself.
Okay, thank you.
Well, I might have stuff on my files too, so I'll look.
I appreciate it.
Hi, Courtney.
Okay. All right, so the timing's pretty good. We have about 13 minutes. Let's maybe, do you mind, Chair Rebecca, if we skip to number 6 real quick, and because I want to make sure we have time for it?
Totally.
Connie, can you share your thoughts about go, no go on Uncorked 2021?
Okay, I'm kind of torn. I know what planning has to go into it. I think we're really behind on where we would need to be to do it the way it used to be.
Yeah.
But that's not saying that we can't do something more in a scaled back event. I don't think, Matt, maybe you know what the predictions are from the state, because that would be in June, wouldn't it? The Uncorked?
Yeah, it's typically, isn't it
Last-
late June?
Yeah, last weekend in June. So, I would love to see it happen, and Courtney chime in because you were huge on this too. I just don't think we could do it at the level we've done in the past. And I'm just gonna throw this out there because it's kind of my baby. I'd like to see us talk about maybe the 4th of July parade kicking off the event season. So we know if that's gonna happen or not. That's a lot less planning as far as vendors and all that. And it's a great way to bring the community together. So, so it's a no-go for me, I guess, because I just don't think we can do it at the level that we need to with the time we have left. But if we scaled it back, and I don't know what that would look like, we could do that too. Courtney?
First, I just found 2 of our work plans in my binder.
Nice.
And then I agree with you about Uncorked. I was thinking about it this morning and I'm like, man, I would have contacted all the vendors last month. And so that alone, like we're already a month behind on, one of the biggest pieces. I would like to maybe spend a little time on the committee meeting thinking about what or if we could do something different on a smaller scale to keep the idea of the event alive for everybody. But I agree with you. I'm like super sad to say it because last year was so hard without all this stuff. But I just don't think we could. We can't spend the money. We can't spend our time planning something that gets, based on every 2 weeks, there's a new decision. And I just think we can't.
Yeah.
I think also too, given the fact that the situation with the pandemic is still so, every day, every week, it's totally different.
Right.
Having the city or a city commission or what have you backing a public event, I just feel like it could be a lot of bad press if something bad was to happen and there was an outbreak or what have you. It would be terrible for Estacada to have its name attached to an event that potentially had an issue. And I know, like, you say a positive, nothing will happen, it'll be fine. But the fact that we're behind schedule, the fact that, the pandemic thing is still fluid, it seems like it could be a PR nightmare to move forward and then have something happen with the city backing.
Yeah. I mean, for what it's worth, I think I tend to agree with all the points that are being made. So err on the side of caution, and what happened last year is money was already spent and a lot of energy expended as well, and you can't get those back. So yeah, with the fluid situation, I think that's a good word to use. It seems prudent to maybe let it go for this year. I think the parade, though, maybe is something to think about. It's outdoors, people can spread out more, and it sounds like vaccines will be available to most adults by the end of May.
Right.
So theoretically, by the 4th of July, a good chunk of the population is vaccinated, plus it's outdoors, plus it's distanced, et cetera.
I haven't heard from the Estacada Community Events about if they're doing anything for the Timber Festival. I've reached out to a couple of members and they haven't decided yet what they're going to do.
Okay.
Because we usually tied in the parade with that. And if we do the parade, since it's on a Sunday, I've had a request that we start it later, like at 1, which isn't a problem. Just need to get the word out. But, one of the things I would like to see us really maybe kind of focus in on is the Harvest Festival, the end of September and October.
Yes.
So I think awkward. I think last meeting we tentatively decided to suspend Harvest Festival and with the intent to focus on perhaps something different or new.
Okay.
Oh.
And we need to do something. So if that's a tree lighting, that's fine.
Yeah, so
It was more of an expanding the tree lighting and then making it a bit more inclusive. So there would still definitely be a citywide activity that would sort of move into the tree lightings, but make it better.
Not just a
Jazzy.
one evening type of thing.
Well, it could be a one evening, but not just a 1 or 2 hour, make it more of an all day event. Vendors, the whole 9 yards. That way we're more small businesses out and about into people's lives.
The discussion that you missed regarding Harvest Festival was not that it wasn't a worthy event, but rather there it seems like attendance has been a challenge, and we talked about as a general theme, not just about Harvest Festival, but about the events we choose to do generally. What we discussed was trying to maybe identify a new event that was sufficiently unique and intriguing that it might differentiate itself from other events that take place, all over the region. That maybe things like harvest celebrations are better in the country and on farms, but we could do something else alternatively that might have a broader, perhaps deeper draw as well. So, I lobbed out an idea that has been passed to me from others, and that was to try and do like a soapbox derby down the hill into downtown. It doesn't have a harvest. It doesn't have a harvest theme, but what I think we liked about it is that it was something that a lot of people would be like, "Oh, that's pretty cool," and it's pretty unique. So it doesn't have to be a soapbox derby, but that's the type of idea I think we're trying to go towards, is something that's kind of a standout event. So promotions committee, I guess, should think a little bit more about what that might be.
First thing that came to my mind was, let's make sure we have the fire department at the bottom of the hill.
Well, yeah, there would have to be road closure, and there would be a lot of coordination required for sure. It would not be a small undertaking, but it might be worth it.
Other places do it, so yeah.
That might be a good event. You know how every year we try to think of something to fill those months where we don't have anything? That might be a good time of year to do something like that soapbox derby.
Yeah, either the spring or the fall, maybe.
Yeah, because we always talk about, it's kind of a struggle because we've got all these great, events that are cemented in, and then there's like several months where we're happy to take a break, don't get me wrong, but it's like there's nothing on the calendar as far as bringing everybody together. So I'd love to find a way to fill one of those months.
Cool.
So Matt, can I just mention this again? Do you think you could try and find out from Denise what her thoughts are on the 4th of July parade?
Yes, I'm sorry that she hasn't gotten back to you, but I'll make a note and ask her to please do that.
Okay, thank you.
I'm writing it right now.
For what it's worth, I would be a big advocate to see the 4th of July parade happen this year.
Agree.
I feel like that one's one that could be very safe. We're all very practiced in our social distancing. And I think people know at this point they could stand on the sidewalks 6 feet apart. And even if we had to make the route longer. But that's the one event, at least for me personally, where you can really wave that Estacada flag with pride. And we have people, I mean, at least in my family, we've got people that come from Sandy, Happy Valley, Damascus, all the other communities to come and see what Estacada is all about. And so I think it's like the most positive representation of what Estacada is. So again, if we can make that happen, I'd be thrilled. So.
Yeah, I tend to agree. I'll add as just a trivial note, West Lynn, I think I'm a resident there, does a 4th of July parade, and Estacada's 4th of July parade puts West Lynn's to absolute shame. Yeah, so.
Go Connie.
Yeah. Anyway, okay, well, it sounds like the consensus among the board, I don't know that we need to vote, but the consensus is to go ahead and let another year go with Uncorked, and then ask the promotions committee to start thinking about maybe a shoulder season event that would have some some draw.
The good thing about Uncork, all the glasses and stuff we have don't have dates on it.
That's true.
That's
That's
smart.
good.
Good forethought. Yeah.
Okay.
I thought Tanley, I'm sorry, I saw that Tanley had her hand up.
Yeah, sorry. I'm gonna have to head out to work. But I would love to be clued on the end of the meeting in some form or fashion, so I don't miss anything important. But it was good to see all of you today. And yeah.
Okay, so the minutes will go out so you can check out the end of the meeting in written form, but this is also being recorded and I can send you the link.
Perfect. Thank you.
Okay. Thank you for
Have a
joining.
great day, you guys.
Bye.
Bye.
Okay, so I would like to watch this little video clip and then I think we'll be able to maybe get out a little bit early. Isn't it fun to get out of class early?
Yes.
I still have questions about the conditions for the grant, but it can
So
wait.
sorry. I don't remember them all off the top of my head. Some of them are standard for the grant programs, and there were a few additional that were not. Why don't I send those out via email? Does that sound okay?
I suppose.
Okay. All right. I got to figure out how to do this video now. I think. Share. I want this. Okay. So you all are going to have to let me know if you can hear it. I'm going to press play and then you give me a thumbs up if yes.
Here are the 9 steps to get your city, your downtown back. Number 1, get your city leaders on board. You need a mayor. You need a city council people, city managers or CAOs in Canada. You need these people, and they need to invest in downtown because these vacant buildings are a threat to public safety, for instance. I mean, police departments have 3 times the call in vacant areas just for drugs. They have twice as many calls for theft and vandalism where there are vacant buildings. This is a cost. There is the higher cost of fire calls. They're doing 12,000 fires a year started in just the US in abandoned buildings. And most of it's arson. You know, a lot of cities, it's costing their taxpayers $100 per household just for all of the policing of them and to demolish abandoned buildings. And by the way, you know, buildings next to or close to abandoned buildings have a valuation that's approaching $10,000 less than other places in their town. And it creates a reduced tax base, declining property values, and there's no sense of place or sense of community. And you end up with increased leakage. That's when people earn money locally, but they go spend it somewhere else. And that all ends up in declining school enrollment. Got to get your leaders on board. They need to understand how important downtowns are. And then you need to activate downtown 250 days a year. And I know some of you are panicking right now. In Rapid City, they created this water feature that goes for 120 days of the year. I mean, they have all these events and things that are happening in their downtowns, movies under the stars, summer nights, concert series, splash pad under 20 days. I mean, they have activated this. They even have ice. So with that water feature, 120 days, and the ice 120 days, that's 240 days a year. We're not talking about events. We're talking about activity. So the key is where people are consistently, merchants will follow. So when you do 4 events a year, that's not enough to get any merchant to start a business downtown. So this is so important. What comes first? People. And then merchants will follow. And by the way, if those activities in the evening hours, your merchants are going to be open in activity hours because that's when the customers are there. When we talk about bringing downtown to life, this is in Asheville, North Carolina. This band was performing. It was 4 o'clock in the afternoon. There's a restaurant to the right, a restaurant to the left. I was wondering, why is the band here at 4 o'clock? So I went in and talked to one of the restaurant owners. He says, well, Roger, we start them at 4 and they play till 7. And what's interesting is, I said, well, when do you open for dinner? And they said 5. I said, well, you have them there an hour before you even open for dinner. He goes, no, this is happy hour. And so what happened is people start to gather. They start to have drinks. They start to, whatever it is, they're there. And he said, you know what? Each of the 2 restaurants pays this band $100 each. And they said, by 5 o'clock, we're serving dinner. We're already full. And we've already paid for our band just selling drinks. And so this is bringing downtown to life. It doesn't have to be big events. It can be, I love this, he's playing a wash bar. The guy next to him is on his harmonica. We got the guitar, the stand-up bass, and the violin. This is so cool. And the next night, it was a guitarist there. These are the things that bring down.
I can't hear the sound.
Same.
Spending takes place after 6 p.m. Got that? 70%. Are you open? I just want to make sure you all see that. Here it is in big print, and I want you to even go tweet that out there. 70% of consumer retail spending takes place after 6 p.m. Concentrate on the evening hours. Find your focus. Are you about entertainment, shopping, kids and family, food, art, antiques? This is Jefferson, Texas, a town of 2,500. It has an antique dealer for every 20 residents. Start with your property owners. This is Jackson Hole in Wyoming. Population just 10,000. It is the home of Western art, Western living. There are 110 galleries and Western living shops in this little town. And start with 1 block. This is Sisters, Oregon, a population of 1,100 that's become a great destination to live, to work, and to visit. And right across the street, this is it. They started 1 block and they let it grow from there. And in that block, you need to orchestrate the business mix. If we go back to Jackson Hole, Wyoming, they are about Western art. So every time they opened up a gallery, they had a major grand opening, but they did not want to lose their Western roots. So here is the $1 million cowboy bar where you walk in and you saddle up to the bar, literally. And number 8, you find and promote your anchor tenants. This is in Richland, Washington, where they have a little street called the Parkway. This is Porter's Barbecue. This little street is fantastic. And you know what? Porter's Barbecue started as a food truck. They now sell nearly 1,500 pounds of beef a day. And people go out of their way to eat at Porter's. Number 9, make it look good. 70% of first-time sales comes from curb appeal. We all travel. Have you ever said, that looks like a nice place to eat? And here's the big fallacy. So many cities and towns, they go and they do all the facade improvements. They do all the beautification. And they think that's what's going to fix their downtown. No, that's window dressing. It's important, but you have to bring it to life. It's what's in the buildings. It's the musicians, the street. It's the culture you have. So to wrap through this real quickly, you got to get your elected officials on board. You need to activate your downtown 250 days a year. That just means activity. Concentrate on the evening hours. Find your focus. Work with your property owners. Start with 1 block. That's all it takes. Then orchestrate the business mix in that block. Find your anchor tenant, that little restaurant, that little cupcake shop, whatever it is that people will come out of their way for, and make it look good. And by the way, the next in the series of presentations is this one. I'm going to show you how to do all 9 of those. We will do a deep dive. Meanwhile, This is so important that we embarked on a 7-year research project looking at 2,000 towns, finding the 400 most successful, and creating a video series called The 20 Ingredients of an Outstanding Downtown. It's in our video library. I would urge you to watch it. And then there are also videos on how to implement a lot of these things, like how to get those anchor tenants, critical mass, how to stay open after 6 o'clock, videos on all of these things to make your downtown great. It is our passion. We have worked for so many years to bring these resources to you to help you make a difference. Now, to close things up today, here are our takeaways. Why your downtown should be your #1 priority. And to start that, I want you to understand that every single elected or public official has a primary purpose, that's to improve the quality of life for its citizens. I don't care whether you're a prime minister, the president, a governor, a legislator, a city council, or a town council person. This is your priority. Now, with that, downtowns create a sense of community. And I'm not talking about just a sense of city. I'm talking about a sense of community where we gather together. It's your third place. It is your nucleus, your hub. The center of your local universe should be your downtowns. Downtowns help reduce leakage of locally earned money spent elsewhere. And the quickest way to reduce that leakage is to make your downtown a priority. Get people to hang out there and your retailers will come back. Downtown should help carry the burden of local taxes. This is tax base. And by the way, downtown is the litmus test for anybody, site selectors, investors, business interests. When they come in, they will judge you. They judge the health of your community economically by the health of your downtown economically. It is that important. As a matter of fact, downtowns are your very best economic development recruitment tool. If you are a place that people want to live, then the companies will come to you. That is an entire 180 from the way it used to be. Just remember, for the first time in history, jobs are going where the talent is, and the talent is going where there's great quality of life. Vibrant downtowns will bring your young families back. And there is nothing you can invest in besides your school system that will create a faster or better return on investment than your downtown. You remember, this is an investment. It actually has a return. You can create parks, ball fields, civic and convention centers, but nothing works as well as a well-orchestrated downtown. And tourism is the front door to your non-tourism economic development. So if you have a great downtown, you're going to get visitors. And by the way, the #1 reason people visit is to visit friends and family. When they visit, where do you take them? And by the way, the #1 activity of visitors in the world is shopping, dining, and entertainment in a pedestrian-friendly, intimate setting. It might not be the reason they come, but it's the #1 activity once they arrive. And here's the big one. This is where 80% of all non-lodging spending takes place. We came from the tourism industry, and now downtowns are a focus because it is so vital to you getting visitors to spend time and money. This is why Disney put Downtown Disney outside each of its parks, and why downtowns and tourism need to be joined at the hip. But here's the clincher. If you don't hang out in your downtown, neither will visitors. They go where you go. And then women account for 80% of all consumer spending. I know I can hear the guys now. Yeah, somebody's saying, that's all? And women want to be in places that are welcoming, that feel safe. They're alive with people and activity. So I have 2 words for you. Look at here. There. You know what? That was not staged. What do you see there? Yep, the guys. I have 2 words for you. Think benches. Why do you think we put front porch swings? It's to make our homes welcoming. It's the same thing in downtowns. And downtowns are at the heart of community development. So the best time to plant a tree was 20 years ago. But you know what? The second best time is today.
All right. Can you still hear me?
Yes.
Okay. So hopefully there's a few little things in that that spark ideas. You know, Estacada is probably not it's blanking my mind. Jackson Hole, Wyoming, right? But that doesn't mean that we still can't take some of these concepts that he's talking about and think about them on an Estacada scale. Just because the scale is different doesn't mean that the quality of experience has to be different. So I think he had some good ideas there, especially the pieces about where people are, merchants will follow. I think that's the main thing that we can think about when we talk about getting people downtown. It's not just for the sake of doing it. It's a positive feedback loop. You get the people downtown, then the merchants have more business and they do better than other businesses want to start, and that in turn attracts more people and just makes it a more vibrant place that residents and visitors want to be. I saw expressions on a few of your faces when he said, if you don't want to hang out in your downtown, other people won't either. And I think that's a big takeaway as well. So you build a downtown for the residents, not for visitors, but when you do that, visitors will find it attractive as well. Did any of you have ideas or takeaways or anything that you wanted to reflect on vocally regarding that?
Well, we kind of started with the start with one block. You know, we have Broadway and we've done a great job on promoting that as Estacada's living room. So that's, I think, something.
I think too, when he mentioned in the video, and then you also touched on this, Matt, in the very beginning of the meeting, trying to orchestrate the new tenants for retail space and so on and so forth. So the reason I kept asking about the grant and the conditions to that new building is that if we know that it's happening, would it be a good time to put feelers out and maybe start courting potential businesses, because we know there's going to be one and or two spaces? And if that's a thing, is that a DEC thing? Is that an urban renewal, your gig? And can we put feelers out for more minority businesses? I mean, Estacada in the press in the past couple months has not been that great regarding minority relations. So it'd be kind of cool if we could make that a priority for the new spaces. I mean, you know what I mean?
Yeah. So yes, 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 and yes.
Okay.
Is it DEC or is it urban renewal? Is it economic development? It's yes, but
Okay.
certainly the DEC leading the way and prioritizing and saying what staff ought to be doing in terms of trying to court, as you put it, certain businesses or certain categories of businesses. Yeah, that's absolutely the role of this group. We staff people, yes, we work for the city manager who works for the city council, but you all are a part of that governing model. You know, you're the House of Representatives. You set the policy, you set the tone, you set the agenda, and then we staff are charged with following that. So certainly, yeah, the Economic Vitality Committee would be a great place to talk about what type of businesses should be courted, either specifically or categorically, and then invite staff to then get to it.
Okay.
I think we're nearing the end of the agenda here. Let me get it back up. What did y'all think of Roger Brooks?
He was intense.
He got me excited though. I might go look at his website and see what else he has to offer, but
yeah, so His material is by subscription, and we happen to have a subscription. So I'd like to maybe incorporate a 10 or so minute clip into each of our meetings, because I do think that while he does borderline on nauseating, he also he does energize, and he does have good ideas and good examples. I feel like those are the things that really make me start thinking, is when you see examples like in concrete terms, like, oh yeah, we could do that, or we could do something similar. You know, talking about theory is one thing, but seeing what other folks have done is a different situation. It's more helpful for me. Is everyone in favor of that? Maybe kind of incorporating one of his clips into the meetings?
Yes.
All right, I'll try and curate that and make sure we get good stuff to watch.
Hey, Matt, really quick, speaking of kind of this educational stuff, have you had any takers for that Main Street conference? Or fillers? Okay, Rebecca's gonna be our head. Okay. Well, I didn't hear anything else about
Does it
that,
have to
so.
be one person, or can it be like a field trip?
Well, it's virtual, right?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry, what was your question?
Oh, sorry, Rebecca.
Rebecca, what was your question?
Well, does it have to be just one person, or like could Kim and I and Connie or anybody, could we
Yeah,
all attend together?
I think it's an open invite, but did the information I sent not have registration information in it?
I don't know.
Matt, if it did, it wasn't clear that we were supposed to be submitting the registration information ourselves.
Okay.
I wasn't sure if there was like an expense associated with it, and if it was just tagged for one person.
Okay, let me, I apologize. I thought there was registration info there included, so that if anyone was interested, they could just do it of their own volition, but I'll follow up on that. I've made a note here, so I don't remember the dates of that. Hopefully we're not too late.
I can't remember off the top of my head. Maybe April sometime, but.
Okay. All right. Well, I've got a follow-up item here, so I'll get you some more on that. Rebecca, I'm sorry if I've sort of commandeered the meeting.
No, do it. It's fine.
Well,
I've got notes all over this thing. I'm all lost. You keep going.
If no one has anything else to add to the agenda, and if there's no public comment, then I think we're ready to adjourn, targeting to meet again pretty soon on March 18th, where we'll focus in on vision and goal setting, and maybe I'll try and find something from Roger Brooks that speaks to that as well.
Are we like, what's the next step for committees? I guess I'm a little unclear on that. Are you going to, you're going to reach out to us individually? Okay.
Yes, yeah, that's the plan. Sorry for the lack of clarity, but yes, I'll be in touch and we'll get those on the calendar by committee. So we don't have any members of the public. So Rebecca, would you like to adjourn the meeting?
I would like to move to adjourn this meeting.
Okay, so we'll see you all on the 18th, and I will start contacting you to coordinate the scheduling of committee meetings.
Awesome.
Awesome. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Bye,
Everyone.
Bye.